Originated from the mind of the late and legendary Wes Craven, A Nightmare on Elm Street spins the tale of Freddy Krueger, the bastard son of 100 maniacs in his quest to kill the Elm Street children. The original film debuted back in 1984, and to date, the Craven estate is pitching offers to resurrect the series in a return to theaters. So there are 9 total movies in this series, 6 from its original first run, then 3 various one-offs since. The series is tricky to rank because outside of a small number, I find the majority enjoyable and worthy of praise. Let me know your rankings in the comments section below, and as always, if you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel. With that said, let's jump right into it. Number 9, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010, The Remake. An easy choice here is the bottom feeder. The remake managed to do the exact opposite of what its predecessor did, and that's invoke scares with a cohesive enough plot. This Michael Bay produced cash grab borefest redoes most of the iconic moments of the original while managing to make it look worse with a bigger budget. Classic scenes miss their mark bad here. The ceiling death made so chilling before is reduced to a few flings around a room that makes me laugh instead of get scared. Freddy coming through the wall is so badly CGI'd it's amazing to me that it was approved for the final cut of the film. Jackie Earle Haley does fine with what he's allowed to do here, and I've always been a fan of Rooney Mara, but the movie has no life to it. It's just that washed out Platinum Dunes production junk we've already seen way too much of.
You can't save her!
Number 8, Freddys Dead, The Final Nightmare. The last of the original run, Freddys Dead completely forgot it was a horror movie franchise and took the jokey Krueger that's already plagued the series into jump the shark levels of bad. We are talking full-on Nintendo game deaths and jokes from old school Bugs Bunny comics. It's horribly written and also manages to ignore the previous entries as it sets up a lame family connection. There are some nice cameos in the film as it dives into Freddy's backstory pretty deep, but much of that has already been shown or implied already. I'll give it props for its attempt at a 3D ending, but even that's just a hook to keep you around until the final 20 minutes. The Final Nightmare is pretty bad and even skippable if it wasn't for another chance to see Robert Englund again.
Get out of here now, please! Now!
Hey! You forgot the power glove!
No!
Number 7, Freddy vs. Jason. I gave my view on this film in my Friday the 13th ranking video, which you can check out on my channel. It's a well-made enough film, and I appreciate the effort put into the script trying to link the Jason and Freddy backstories together. The big fight between the two is done well enough with heaps of blood thrown around as the locations jump from the dream world to Crystal Lake. Unfortunately, outside of our two icons, the rest of the cast is pretty forgettable and at times painful to sit through. So far, 3 movies into this ranking and a common theme is present, which sets them apart from the better films, and that's a solid enough supporting cast and final girl. Monica Keena does a well enough job, but the script doesn't allow for much of that to matter. Also, not having Kane Hodder as Jason still stands out as a major mistake. But this is a Freddy ranking, and Robert does very well setting up the scenarios until the eventual showdown. Freddy looks good here, I just wish it was played a bit less campy and more to the scare factor. Number 6, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. Okay, so starting here is where the line is drawn for this series. From here on out, every one of these are high-quality horror films in my book. They range in overall likability, but I hold them all in a high regard, so the next few could be interchangeable to a degree. It's all good stuff. So Part 5 picks up a year after Part 4, bringing back Lisa Wilcox as Alice. She is as extremely likable lead as you will find in the genre. With a bit of a darker tone than the previous film, The Dream Child gets high marks for a few extra creative and well-done kills. Notably, the motorcycle and dinner scenes. The premise is a nice change of pace as this time Freddy is coming back to life through the dreams of Alice's unborn baby. The ending is as dubious as most of the series. I mean, let's face it, most of the endings here are pretty unremarkable, but it's the journey, not the destination. I also have to mention the relationship between Alice and her father in this film. It's a great continuation from Part 4, and it shows a nice bit of care that fans can appreciate. Number 5. Wes Craven's A New Nightmare. Coming after the series' conclusion in god-awful Freddys Dead, Wes Craven went back to the world he created with a new take on the maniac dream killer. This time, it's set in, quote, reality, as Heather Langenkamp returns as Heather Langenkamp. She's having a rough go of it, and wouldn't you know it, starts having some real-life Freddy situations. It's a clever film as Wes himself pops in to direct us along as the evil spirit takes the Freddy form. The film came out just before another Craven classic, Scream, but you can see that film's early fingerprints here as the characters know the trials of standard slasher movies and openly attempt to avoid them. Essentially, A New Nightmare is a slasher upgrade, moving things along from the 70s and 80s vibe into the next logical chain of events, this time the 90s. The film is low on kills but high enough on tension. The scenes with Nancy's son Dylan scaling a structure at the park brings the chill factor to 11. Freddy gets a slight makeover here and isn't quite as scary as the earlier films, but the movie doesn't play for laughs. It's a very well-made final stamp on the series by the man who started it all.
Let's get him over. Good and fast. Cut this evil out of him.
Number 4. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddys Revenge. Freddys Revenge, the first film in the series I saw from start to finish, and boy did it scare the hell out of me. I was too young to watch the first film, but managed to sneak this one in without anybody knowing. A bit of a learning experience there is when I tried to go to sleep that night, well, I was freaking out. Trouble is, I couldn't tell my parents because I wasn't supposed to watch the film. Lesson learned, and the wheels keep turning. Part 2 brings a new cast into the house at 1428 Elm Street. This time, the lead character is Jesse, brilliantly played by Mark Patton. His family moves into the home, and he begins to have dreams of good old Fred looking to take over his body as a way to exist beyond the dream world. Not yet the jokester, Freddy continues his assault as a true horror icon here. Add in a great all-around cast and the fact that the film was going for something more than just the typical body count flick. The entire storyline is a metaphor for becoming who you are and rising to the occasion as self-doubt and fear tries to guide you away. Part 2 is a strong follow-up to the original and deserves praise as breaking new ground while also staying true to the series. For the most part. Some of the Freddy rules laid down in the first film are broken here, but I'm giving that a pass. Freddys Revenge hits a home run.
Jesse, it's okay. It's all over.
Number 3. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. So the sequel to The Masterful Dream Warriors picks up a year after that film. Tuesday night steps in as Kristen, and wouldn't you know it, but the surviving members start having those crazy dreams again. Freddy's resurrection here can only be seen as a joke in the writer's room. Let's just have a dog relief fire on him. Okay, sure, we'll do that. Well, the end result gets Big Fred back in business as he takes out Joey and Kincaid, with Kristen left to win the war again. Trouble is, her mom slips her some sleeping pills and she gets dispatched. Thankfully, she also passes along her dream powers to our new hero, Alice, and it's up to her and her friends to end it all once again. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 gets a whole lot right in my book. Its production value right off the bat is elevated, giving off a great look to the film. Bringing back the survivors of Part 3 helped create great continuity and bridges the gap to our new cast. Lisa Wilcox does an amazing job here as Alice. Her character arc is well done as she goes from shy to assertive to badass as her powers increase during the film. The kills are very, very well done, including the mega disgusting roach transformation. There are plenty of eerie and surreal moments throughout. Freddy crosses over officially into prankster mode here, but he still looks great and is sinister enough. Props for the Jaws sequence and the throw in the fantastic Soul Pizza scene, and it all adds up to my third favorite in the series.
Fucking A.
Number 2, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. Alright, this one is either 1 or 2 on most people's lists, and mine isn't different. Coming in at number 2, there is nothing bad about this film. This is the one that took Freddy Krueger and made him the legend and the household name. It put him on the Mount Rushmore of horror right next to Michael and Jason. Bringing back Nancy for the first time, Part 3 took all that was great in the original and pumped it full of steroids and created a horror classic. Every cast member in this group of kids stuck in an institution, all having the same dream, are played perfectly. You actually care about them all and hope they can all survive this round. We get the start of Freddy's backstory done in excellent ways as well. The introduction of bringing people into your dreams to assist, and the kills are extremely inventive, bloody, and scary. There is a great scare factor here while taking things even further into the dream direction. We also get early screen appearances of Patricia Arquette and Lawrence Fishburne. And who didn't have a crush on Jennifer Rubin after this movie?
Never. Never sleep again.
Number 1, A Nightmare on Elm Street. No surprise here as the first, original, and legendary film takes the top spot. A culmination of articles Wes Craven read about kids dying in their sleep, mixed with a real-life run-in with a stranger outside a window, Wes Craven created one of the most terrifying movies of all time. No easy feat, but he pulled it off, with masterful attention to detail, including picking the colors of Freddy's sweater as ones that would disorientate the audience just enough. There aren't any much wasted moments here, as Freddy is downright scary, a true nightmare. The kills are all memorable and will stay with you long after you've watched the film. The cast was perfectly put together, as each character has their time to shine or bleed. There is upper tier camera work going on here to help bring all the illusions and nightmares together. Craven's early revenge tactics are also on full display as Nancy fights back against her tormentor. A Nightmare on Elm Street is one of the few gold standard horror films that any fan will proudly say is one of the best ever created.
Watch this.
So there's my ranking on the Nightmare on Elm Street films. Once again, let me know your ranking in the comments section below. And if you liked this video again, be sure to subscribe to the channel.